What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Weekend Preview live here on Hypermark. As always, I'm Adam Beadle. Glad to be with you on this wonderful Friday afternoon, Friday evening. I don't know. What do you guys call it? When it goes into the 4 o'clock, when's like the cutoff? Not the cutoff, but the entryway for evening to afternoon. I feel like for me, evenings, 4:30, I guess maybe it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So maybe 5 o'clock is when the evening starts, I guess maybe is when you would consider it to be. I don't know. Whatever it is, I hope you're having a great day. Hope it's in a great week. It seems to be a very busy week around the Valley. It just seems like everybody's busy right now. Everybody's doing something. Everybody's killing it. Whether that be media people, that be athletes, that be people working just regular jobs. It just the month of February, I've seen a lot of people. I almost said month of March. The month of February, I've been seeing just a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff, and that's been super exciting to see. And yeah, it's just great. It's very happy to be here. It's just going to be me today. Can you believe that? It's just me, no guests. We have plenty of stuff to talk about. Going to dive deep into some very strong opinions I have on some of the things going around the state of Arizona right now. But before we dive too much into what some of those things are, we got to talk about some of the sports that are going on this weekend. Obviously, we've got spring training, which has been off to its first and a half week, I should say, second week here now in the Valley, and it's been really exciting to see. It looks like the D-backs are off to a great start. It looks like the White Sox are still absolutely terrible. They're bad. To sum it up, the White Sox don't look good at all. I spent a lot of time at the Cubs and the White Sox over the last couple of weeks. I'm working with a radio station out in Chicago, just capturing audio for them, doing radio stuff, which is cool. Most of you might know that I spent my junior and senior year of high school at a trade school called the East Valley Institute of Technology. I got to be a part of a radio station there and do a lot of radio stuff. So it's been super cool to get back into the radio field. And not only that, but to talk to people in the media landscape that are from other states. I think Arizona by far has one of the best media landscapes in the sense of how together so many of the media members are in the state. Just I feel like a lot of us are friends at the end of the day. We cover all these different sports, might not see each other every day, but when we see each other and we get to talk to one another, it's almost like, we just saw each other yesterday, which I think is the cool thing about the Arizona media market. But I'm also seeing that it's the same in several other states, right? I think I've seen a lot of people, like when Iowa State came out, and then brought a bunch of people when they played Arizona State in basketball. There was a very large Iowa State media presence, but I think Chicago too, obviously Chicago being one of the largest media markets in the country. They have a really great group of people that seem to all know each other very well, seem very close with the personnel and the staff over there in Chicago and the players. They have a lot of great relationships. So that's just been super cool. And this is my first time covering baseball. So to be in that atmosphere and just, Major League Baseball too, it's kind of cool just to see how it works, all the ins and outs and stuff. Suns play tonight once again against the Pelicans after an excruciatingly painful game to watch last night. We'll talk plenty about the Suns today and just their mishaps and what's going on there. And then they also play the Timberwolves tomorrow night, which if anybody saw that, Anthony Edwards getting ejected last night, that was a little crazy. Since I'm mentioning, I have to bring this up. I was watching that, I think it's called Court of Gold show on Netflix about the USA national team during the Olympics. And the portion of the show where the team is with President Obama and Anthony Edwards is full on pressing. President Obama has got to be the funniest thing ever. Why would you just press the president like that? I don't know. It made me laugh. I thought it was funny. And then another basketball team that has been going through some miserable mishaps as of late is Arizona State. They take on Utah tomorrow night at 5. We'll talk plenty about what Arizona State basketball should or shouldn't do in the offseason. Some of the other things that happened this week, I got to shout out my guy, Renee Elizondo. He's been a big supporter of me and just what I'm doing day one. And he just got a new job, over at Mountain View High School. He's going to be the new girls flag football head coach over there at Mountain View. Super cool to see and excited to see what he does with that program. We also had a new coach hiring out in Mesa. I should say 2 coach hirings out in Mesas this week. Bobby Newcomb, the former head coach over at Castile, will be taking over the Dobson program. I think this is an absolute splash of a hire. I'm super excited to see what Bobby Newcomb does at this Dobson team. I think he could be the guy to really install something new, something refreshing at Dobson that we haven't seen in a very long time, and I'm really excited for that. Sticking on football news, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the scheduling that will be happening soon. I'm not, we'll say, because I'm not going to say anything about schedules. I don't know anything about the schedules, but I think we should be hearing something soon. Possibly be hearing something soon about schedules. I'm not sure. Could. Possibly not. May or may not be hearing something soon about schedules. Regardless, we've got a couple teams specifically in Chandler that have scheduled some out-of-state games. We'll start with Basha. They've scheduled Orange Lutheran. Orange Lutheran, a team from California, has only played one team from Arizona in the last 10 years. That was Chandler. They lost that game, so Basha looking to continue the streak and gets beating California schools. Another team in the CUSD, actually all these teams in the CUSD district, Perry scheduled a game against Granite Hills. Perry went on the road and beat Granite Hills in California last season, 39-21. That was really, I think, the first time we saw what Cale Snyder is capable of doing. And I know since that game, Cale Snyder has really improved drastically. So very excited to see what this Puma team does this season. And I think, by the way, we're not going to have a show next week. I'm going to be out of town. It's spring break. I don't think anybody's going to be on listening anyways because it's spring break and a Friday and whatnot. So no show next week. But I think when we get back from our 1 week break and go back to the show, we're going to really start diving into, obviously ASU spring football will be other way, but we'll start diving into these regions and what they really will look like as teams match up against each other next season. And what can we expect from each of these teams? We'll really start to preview the Arizona high school football season, because we really only get, March, April, May, June. And then, a lot of people take vacation in July because it's right before football season is August. So, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of teams, a lot of coaches to talk with, a lot of players. We're going to do plenty of that over the next couple of weeks. So last team in the CUSD district that scheduled an out-of-state game, Chandler will be taking on Cathedral Catholic in California. Chandler actually played Cathedral Catholic in 2022 and won 63-7. Dylan Raiola was the quarterback of that team at the time. I think that was Chandler's first or second game of the season. I'm pretty sure it was the second game of the year, but they handled business, so I'm sure they'll be looking to do that again. But Arizona versus California, always a great rivalry to see. Obviously, we had Liberty and Corona Centennial play up against each other last year, and it's just cool to see all these different teams play together. And something that me and Zach Elvira talked about a couple weeks ago when we were talking about these regions and what to expect is, wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more teams schedule more national schedules, I should say. I think it'll be interesting to see maybe if teams start to do more than one out-of-state opponent per year. Just something to keep eyes on, something I think would be intriguing and fun. Very busy time for high school sports right now as the winter season is wrapping up. High school basketball, I think the wrestling state championships were last weekend. And then baseball getting started this weekend. We're going to go ahead and actually take a look at some of the high school basketball games that are coming up throughout this weekend. And maybe, hopefully, my screen doesn't go all crazy like it did when Jacob was on here last week. I don't know what happened. Like, it just disappeared. But no, we're good. We're chilling this week. So, taking a look at the boys open division, or that's 6A. Let's look at open division. The open division games, these games going down tonight, playoff basketball. And how could I forget, as I look at this first game, the probably the biggest news from this week just came down about a couple hours ago. That is 4-star prospect and one of the probably best players in Arizona high school basketball history, Koa Pete, will miss the remainder of the season for Perry with a broken hand. I just feel for Koa, man. I really wish he could have had the chance to come out and win a 4th straight state championship. I think it would have been something really cool to see. And I just, it really just stinks, to sum it up. It stinks to see such a good player go down. But I think that his Perry team will still be able to pick up some good positive energy and be able to win games. I think they get a close win tonight against Ironwood. I think, like Jake, I saw a tweet from Jacob Saliga earlier. This game might be one of the closer games in the Open Division quarterfinals tonight, and I absolutely do believe that. I think that Sunny Slope and Boulder Creek might be a close second, but Perry and Ironwood is going to be very competitive tonight, and I'm very excited to see that games go down. I think I'm going to stay in tonight. I don't think I'm going to go out to game and try to see if I can watch a couple of these games simultaneously. I'm calling the Arizona State women's basketball game tomorrow on Blaze Radio, so I got to do some prep for that. But definitely gonna be watching these games and see what goes down. Basha and Saturday O'Connor. So 2 games going down tonight in Gilbert. This game should be a lot of fun. I think Saturday O'Connor will provide a interesting test for Basha in terms of their size and could potentially get the Bears ready to once again face off against Perry. And if the Bears do win, and Perry wins, I think that would be very competitive. I'm going to go ahead and go with Saturday O'Connor in this game. I think their size is just going to be too much of a mismatch for the guys inside on Basha. And Saturday O'Connor, I think Perry is going to be a really interesting matchup now that Koa Pete won't be playing. Very interested to see how that goes down. In the bottom half of the bracket, Sunny Slope and Boulder Creek, like I said, I think right behind Perry and Ironwood tonight, this is going to be the second most competitive game in the state tonight. I'm going to go with Sunny Slope. And by the way, that dunk from Caspian Jones against St. Mary's, oh my goodness, like lobbed it up himself off the backboard and dunked it. It was crazy. Shout out to Williamsfield for putting up the season that they did and really gave it their all this year. I think that the Liberty win was really good. It just couldn't get it done against Boulder Creek. And obviously Millennium, Notre Dame Prep. I mean, I think Millennium's gonna blow out Notre Dame Prep. That's all I'm gonna say. I think that's how it's gonna roll. So that's what's going on the boys' Open Division bracket tonight. In terms of the 6A games, a couple more competitive games. This West Point Brophy matchup is gonna be really exciting. Desert Vista, obviously, the situation that went down this week with them forfeiting their games because of their players playing in a rec league game, which I get. You don't want, guys during the season going and playing recreational basketball for a team or whatnot. But I mean, I understand both sides of the argument where you don't want kids doing that, but it also is kind of just like, well, they're just kids being kids. I think that there's a logical argument there too. This West Point Brophy game is going to be pretty exciting. Brophy 8-point win over Apollo 2 days ago on Wednesday. This one should be pretty good. Highland and Williamsfield taking on each other after Williamsfield lost to Boulder Creek. I think this one will be a very exciting competitive game as well. Highland really put up a fight in their region against Higley, which Higley getting upset by Pinnacle 74-62 on Wednesday. They'll play a really, hot Mesa team. This Mesa team has been playing great as of late. And I'm interested to see what that matchup looks like. And then Hamilton taking on Liberty. I think Liberty is going to win this one with ease. And I honestly think we'll be seeing Liberty versus either Brophy or West Point in the state championship. That's just my take. That's what I think is going to go down. In the boys open and 6A bracket, I want to go ahead and take a look at the girls open and 6A bracket. Jacob saying he will be at Sunny Slope and Boulder Creek. See now Jacob's going to be there. Jacob may or may not have just convinced me to possibly go out to Sunny Slope tonight. It's only like 20 minutes away from downtown. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Looking at the girls brackets, if my screen will go. There's the boys. There's the girls. Boom. There we go. Girls bracket. Valley Vista just continuing their domination throughout the tournament. They got a dominating win over South Point Catholic, and they'll face up against a Pinnacle team. And this Pinnacle team has been playing hot as of late. 2-point win over Mesquite should be pretty exciting. I think Valley Vista pulls it off. And Desert Vista on quite the run. I think we all knew Desert Vista was capable of making it as far as they have. I think Desert Vista might get a win against Millennium tonight. I really do, and I think that's something to look out for. I think a Valley Vista, Desert Vista Open Championship is going to be very exciting to watch. Looking at the 6A bracket, these games not being played until tomorrow. Gilbert taking on Higley. Gilbert, the number 1 seed. Sunnyside taking on Basha in the bottom half of the bracket. Perry Hamilton, always a great matchup, especially in the playoffs when these two teams get to meet up against each other. Sandra Day O'Connor and Mesa. So that does it for the girls and boys open division bracket and 6A games that are going on this weekend. Jumping to some of the professional news, I should say, in this state, but it's still related to high school. I just want to give a shout out to Jamison Ping. If you don't know who Jamison Ping is, he's a junior over at Valley Christian High School, plays soccer, just got signed to a professional contract with Phoenix Rising this afternoon, it's just super cool to see. And I think Phoenix, based on what I've seen online, based on the people I've talked to, it seems like Phoenix has a genuine plan to incorporate Jamison into their rotation, into their lineup. So I'm very curious to see if he gets playing time. But nonetheless, 16 years old, playing professional soccer is incredible, even if it's the USL. So congrats to Jamison. That is a huge accomplishment. I'm very excited to see what he does at Phoenix. I think Phoenix Rising is having a scrimmage tonight, also doing their kit reveal. So that should be a fun atmosphere if you're looking for if you're a soccer fan and you're looking for something exciting to do tonight, that should be very enjoyable. The NFL Combine's also this weekend. Cam Scadaboo, the lone invite for Arizona State, is going to be in attendance. Won't do all the drills because he's going to do a couple of them at ASU's Pro Day. I'm not quite sure when that is yet, but should be exciting to see him and his fellow teammates from this season. Shamar Simmons, Lee Fontanu. That the ASU's Pro Day should be very fun this year, and I'm assuming there's going to be a pretty good amount of NFL scouts at ASU's Pro Day this season. So very excited for that. That's most of the news that's going down. We've also got the Copper Division State Championship going down tomorrow. I think they're actually playing games all throughout this weekend. I've been seeing it since early this morning. They had the 1A Girls Championship, which I think just got over not too long ago. The 2A Championship going down, and the 3A Championship tomorrow. I think it's at 8:15. So if you're looking for some late night basketball, Veterans Memorial Coliseum is the place to be. Which, by the way, I was thinking about this. I think Copper Division, honestly, I was thinking about it in terms of football. I think the Copper Division would be a more fun name to call the Open Division in football, just because, you talk about teams trying to be the best team in Arizona, and I think that naming it something like the Copper Division, which Arizona's the Copper State, I think it would just be, I don't know. I think it'd be cooler than the Open Division. Just food for thought. It definitely won't happen, but I think it's cool. Let's stay on topic of professional sports. Let's talk about the Suns. Straight up, no cap, Suns suck. That is the bottom line, is that this is a team that is not performing well. They're not coached very well. It looks like they've got a system that isn't working. I was there at the game last night. It just seems like there is zero camaraderie between any of the players on this team. Kevin Durant was getting upset at guys when plays were happening. Devin Booker looked great. I have to say that, but there's this team is just, I hate it because I think back to 2022 or 2021 when we're watching this team in the NBA Finals and how happy they look to be with one another and the energy. And I even think it's as simple as the pregame stuff that they used to do, like when McCall was there, when Cam was there, and how they would just, I remember seeing videos on Suns Twitter or Instagram about them, pregame, they're in this little huddle and they're pushing and shoving each other around and they're barking and they're whatnot. Those things, you look at them and you're like, oh, this is stupid. But those stupid things, those funny things, those whatnot, you think they're weird things, are the things that build championship teams. That's the type of relationship. Those are the best relationships, when you can joke with one another. I think that I've always they've always categorized to me, especially in school, you're growing up, you see little kids, when you can be yourself around one another, that's when you get the most out of each other. That's when you get the most out of a relationship. And for the Suns, it just looks like they are lacking the basic fundamentals of relationship building, and just relationship in general. that it is making them a bad basketball team, and they haven't been sourced correctly. Mike Budenholzer has not done the job he should be doing with this team. But I don't think it's blamed entirely on Mike Budenholzer, because you have to go back up to the top. I think Matt Ishbia has done an incredible job at saving, I would say, saving the Suns and taking them out of the mud of where they were, and making them new, and, re-envisioning what it means to be a Phoenix Suns game. No, it's not a Phoenix Suns game, a Phoenix Suns fan. And I think when he made the original trade for KD, and I was listening to this on 98.7 the other day, this is something Gambo, I'm pretty sure it was Gambo that said it, is that when Matt Ishbia first got to Phoenix, he wanted to make a splash. And so what do? You trade for Kevin Durant. Like that is a splash. That is, at that point in time, is a major thing to happen. But you also give up two of the pieces that have really fundamentally built your team up the last couple of years and have turned into fan favorites in Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. And I've said this before, not only in here, but in other areas. Looking back, if I were to go back and that Kevin Durant trade, I would have said no. I think at the time, everybody would have said yes. And I think everybody did say yes. Yeah, this is great. I think there were a very, very slim amount of people that said, no, this is bad. This is not going to put the Suns in the right situation for the future. But I think I would be lying, and I think the majority of people in this state would also be lying if they said that when the KD trade happened, they weren't excited. So with that being said, I think it goes back to James Jones and his inability to really put together a solid group of guys who like each other, who can stand being around one another, and building them into a championship team. And I think part of that is obviously the Kevin Durant trade. I think if Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson were still in Phoenix, it would be a bit of a different situation. I think things started to crumble a bit. And pretty sure I talked to Hayden about this. I think the Suns really started to crumble when Jay Crowder and Monty Williams started to get into things and didn't necessarily agree. And then there was this whole thing about, him not being able to coach up DeAndre Ayton the right way, I think was another thing that was brought up. And there were just so many of these underlying things and I completely agree that Monty Williams was not going to be the guy to get the Phoenix Suns to a championship. But unlike any of the other coaches that Phoenix has had in the last 2 years, he hasn't even gotten to the finals. And I was talking about this with someone, maybe it was today. I think it was Chile. I met up with Chile today. Just talking about business, talking business. And, he said that there's just not a team right now that looks like that dynasty team. And I think at one point in time, the Suns had the ability to possibly be that dynasty team, that they could have been that team to sustain success over a long period of time, but they did not do it correctly. And I think that was just because at the time there's so many different things happening, and it's just the pressure of basketball. Bottom line, what I'm trying to get to is I think the Suns had an opportunity a long time ago to be one of those next great teams, one of those teams that could last for a very long time, and they failed, and they hurt themselves by doing that, and it's their own fault that they failed. That's the point I'm getting at. So, unlike the Suns, Arizona State basketball has not been a team that has failed. Bobby Hurley, in my opinion, has not failed Arizona State. Yes, are there some things that Bobby Hurley could correct for ASU basketball this season? Of course. Does the offense look a little lackluster at times? Yeah. The play is not exactly set right all the time? Yes. One of the biggest things I think I've seen ASU struggle the most is running the pick and roll. I think there are so many times where we've seen it work in games, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't Doesn't happen anymore during the games. I think another thing for Arizona State this season you have to take into account is the injuries, right? You can't plan for that. You can build as many guys in your roster, right? Austin Nunez goes down at the very beginning of the season. There's your backup point guard gone. Now all of a sudden Austin Mason's playing 40 games. Then you've got lingering injury issues with Yosan Sanin. You got lingering issues with Jaden Quains. Now all of a sudden you have a locker room problem with BJ Freeman, who is dismissed from the team. And honestly, since watching the last two games for Arizona State, even though they lost on Wednesday, the team looks like a better team. It seems like they've gotten a error with BJ Freeman being gone. And yes, it's caused some guys to step up, especially with injury. I think Arizona State looked really great last Sunday in their win against Kansas State. And I think even though they were down to, as battered and bruised as they was, is the way I started my article recapping the BYU game. Arizona State fought to the very end in that game. Just given what they had. Trevor Best, dude, shout out Trevor Best for coming out and just having an absolutely great performance. That was really awesome to see. And I think that was really cool. But bottom line, this Arizona State team's not going to make the NCAA tournament this season unless something magical happens at the Big 12 championship. I'm going to be one of those persons that makes the wild takes and says that I think that there is a world where ASU could click at the right time. And this was something Anna Miller talked about in the post-game press conference on Wednesdays. Teams get hot. If teams can get hot at the right time, it's crazy. I look back and I think about that Oregon State team a couple of years ago that went on to win the Pac-12 championship and then had a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament. I think if the cards fall right, and I've been saying this, I think I said this last week too. If the cards fall right for Arizona State, and if they find a way to get hot, let's say Yosan Sanin starts, performing like he was at the beginning of the season again. Jaden Quains comes back. He's feeling healthy. He's feeling good. It looks like ASU could even potentially have now a backup point guard role with Trevor Best. Obviously, Bobby Hurley's still saying that, he's a bit of ways. When you get a guy mid-season, he's not exactly, seasoned and ready to go right away. But I think there is a opportunity for Arizona State to make a statement in these last three games. They're taking on Utah on Saturday, tomorrow at 5:00. And I think they're going to get a win. I just think that Utah has not looked great all year. Kind of honestly, in my opinion, Utah has been like one of the most sad teams in college basketball this season. They fired their head coach. I think ASU could go out there and get a win on the road, and then they come back home and play in Tucson against Arizona. And McHale Center is a tough environment, but Arizona State's done it before. Obviously, Devin Cambridge and getting that big half court shot. I still think it's crazy to say that there's still hope for Arizona State with 3 games left in the season in the Big 12 championship or the Big 12 tournament on its way. But I think there's still hope for Arizona State. I think that I think they could have something. I know I was the one who said it would be the most Arizona State thing ever for them to come out and play against Houston and win an NBA or not an NBA. What am I doing? For them to come out against Houston and win at home against a top 5 opponent, which they didn't do at all, anywhere close to that. But their pathway in the Big 12 championship right now with the seed they have, the teams they've played, they've only lost by single digits to or close to single digits, maybe just a little over 10, 12 or 13 points. I think Kansas would be one of those teams. Obviously, Arizona State played Kansas close in the first half. They were winning and then had probably one of the most abysmal halves of basketball I've ever seen after that. So it's going to be interesting to watch Arizona State these last couple of weeks. But as I was going to originally stating, I don't think you blame Bobby Hurley. I don't think you fully blame Bobby Hurley for the way Arizona State basketball has played this season. I think at times, have I said that is the case? Yes, but now you look at what the team looks like now without BJ Freeman. You look what the team looks like now with so many injuries and how Yilson Sandin hasn't looked the same since the beginning of December, and just all these different things that have happened combined. I don't think there's enough to go out and say, hey, this is on Bobby, and Arizona State should move forward. Because Hurley recruits well, and he does, and he's got an NIL pool now, and he's really able to use it. And Arizona State played fairly well in the non-conference schedule. They went neck and neck with Gonzaga, almost beat Gonzaga. They had Gonzaga beat until the very end. The Zags pulled away. It's really just been injuries that have cost Arizona State some of the games this season. Maybe there are a couple things on the court that may be Bobby's fault that have caused Arizona State to lose some games this weekend. I think, if anything, there are a couple things to look at in that double overtime game against Texas Tech, where even though, once again, Arizona State fought really, really, really hard, that you could go back and fix, whether that be maybe sitting Alston Mason for maybe 3 minutes in the second half could be the difference of that overtime period. I know he had that turnover late in the game, but when a guy plays 46 minutes right before he fouls out like that, you're going to be gassed. So it'll be interesting to watch. But like I said in my tweet, if you came here from the tweet, if you said it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show today, we got no guests, no nothing, but there's plenty of action going around across the valley, whether it be the Suns playing tonight, whether it be spring training going on this weekend, high school basketball games going on today and tomorrow. Copper Division Championship is tomorrow at VMC at 8:15. Plenty of action going on this weekend. So definitely a lot to look forward to. Like I said, we're going to be taking a week off next week. I'm going to be out of town. It's going to be spring break. I hope everyone has a very refreshed and calm break. And we will probably come back being ready to talk about what Arizona State is going to look like next season, Arizona State football, because spring football is slowly approaching. So very exciting time to be a sports fan of the Valley of the Sun. I appreciate everybody for tuning in week after week here on the Weekend Preview with myself, Adam Beadle. Glad to be with you. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, everybody.